for about 5 months, no answer to any of our letters, no any attempt to engage us in dialogue. That leaves much to be desired in terms of worker friendliness. These are the issues we are talking about here, and we are not here to malign government or to undermine the personality of anybody in government.
Mr. Basir, is it possible that that some of the loans that might have been taken by the government might be affecting your revenue accruals? Because there are media reports that the government took a loan and agreed that deductions were made at source. Is that true?
Okay, I will address the question of loan, but first and foremost, I will respect to the comrade on here is being economical with the truth on the issue of pension. As I'm speaking now, the records show that by December 2014, the state had committed 4.9 billion in terms of payments of pensioners. And the baseline in 2010 was 200 million monthly that we inherited. So for that year, we paid 400 million for the 2 months that were in government. In 2011, we increased the pension payment to 250 million monthly. So in 2011, we paid 3 billion. In March 2012, the fee was increased to 300 million monthly, and for 2012, we paid 3.5 billion in that regard. By December 2012, 5,000 workers retired from the civil service of Osun, adding to the existing 9,000 pensioners, making 14,000. That increased the pension obligation of the state, and in 2013, we increased the monthly payment to 520 million monthly, making a payment of 5 billion in that year alone. 2013, additional 3,500 workers retired from the local government service, adding to the pension obligations. These are the data that I expected a labour leader should also advance to in making analysis of issues in that regard. On the question of debt, what we have done is to assess capital markets. And you know, and anybody that's conversant with raising money from capital markets know that the Securities and Exchange Commission imposed stringent rules and conditions for you to access the capital market. If you had wanted to borrow in an underhand manner with our proposed commercial banks, we issued a 30 billion debt issuance program, which is approved by the Securities and Exchange Commission. It was even oversubscribed. Therefore, our school infrastructure, we took a novel financial intervention by way of sukuk bonds, which is celebrated even in Africa as being an innovative way of using existing infrastructure to be able to raise finance in the capital market. So we have been transparent in our obligations in terms of our debt accrual. And from the totality of what I've said, just imagine if from the total allocation, IGR, and other accrual, we have 206 billion that we have spent on recurrent expenditure. When you come to Osun and you see the level of massive infrastructure development, you will see that the government has been transparent and committed to financial endeavor of the people. It will also interest you that before we go to the capital market, we pass certain laws to ensure prudent financial management. We have the Omoluabi Conservation Fund law, we have the Bond Issuance law, we have the Debt Management Office law, and Fiscal Responsibility Commission law, which are the legal framework for our public finance management. So we are not reckless in even taking loans, and that is why we have debt sustainability program, which has guided our operation in intervention with the debt market in terms of capital market issuance. So those are the facts that are in the public domain.
Mr.
We cannot lie about law that have been signed and is in the public domain.
Mr. Basir.
What I want to say is that as a government, we are worker friendly.
Okay.
Before December 2010, when the government took over, we paid 30 months salary to the workers.
Okay, before this, Mr. Basir, please hold on.
In 2012, and so on and so forth. So
Mr. Basir, can you hold on, please?
Is not worker friendly. Thank you.
Okay, can you hold on, please? Before this current 7-month salary arrears, just before the elections, I think about 3 months was being owed the workers then, but just before the elections, the governor was able to pay. So it is not a recent thing, we would say, if you look at it that way. Why is it that the government cannot muster courage or the resources to try and pay some of this, arrears of salaries? Mr. Bashir?
Yeah, we are working seriously, and you can see both at the public sector and also in terms of engagement of the financial market to restructure and ensure we begin to pay as soon as possible. But I must tell you, if you are negotiating with a bank for some legroom and the bank discovers that your allocation is 466 million in April, it is 624 million in March, and you are negotiating for further financial exposure, they will have to look at the bank prudential guidelines, and that is why we are looking at two ways to address the issue.
Mr. Basir, is Osun State dependent only on federal allocation?
I told you that we have improved our IGR from the baseline of 280 million to between 1 billion and 1.2 billion. Okay, so
between last year and now, would you say that your IGR has not come up?
It has come up from 280 million to 1.2 billion. That's what I've said.
Okay, so between December and now, IGR is 1.2 billion.
It's between 1.2 billion. But firstly,
per month?
The workers, per month.
Okay,
the workers are
so
on
from
site,
that 1.2
so there's nobody
billion,
to even collect IGR for us for this month. For May and June, there's no IGR.
No
IGR.
IGR.
On site.
Okay, Mr. Basir, let's just hear from Mr. Lano. We'll come back to you as we wind down.
With due respect, I think the Honorable Commissioner does not understand at all the problem we raised about pension. We are not talking about pensioners here. We are talking about the contributory pension scheme of working people, those who are still in service. The state migrated to the contributory pension scheme, and the contributory pension scheme is guarded by law. It's an aspect of compensation. That's what we are talking about.
The issues of your union are not just about the unpaid salary.
Yeah.
Also include about unremitted pension deductions. Okay.
And many others.
Mr. Basir, we're almost out of time. So let's see if we can manage to put this all together. There are complaints on paid salary and unremitted pension deductions from their salaries. You said you've had, just for May and June, you've not had any internally generated revenue.
Yes,
from what you've had from December up till April, is it possible that the state can pay up some of these old salaries and unremitted balances?
It will interest you. I've given you the figure for January to April this year. 1.25 billion, 1.12 billion, 624 million, 466 million. So April that we have received. It is not even more to pay a month's salary. Our emolument in a month is 4 billion naira. When you total this, not even up to pay a month's salary. Then when you look at the issue of the contributory pension scheme that you have mentioned, they went on strike sometimes last year, and we discovered that we inherited a deficit of 6 billion of unremitted by the past head of service. That's Mr. Kiwusi, that is now with the Social Democratic Party. At those times, those workers that are now talking, that Mr. Lam is representing, never raised any issue. So we inherited that obligation, and that's a baseline data to show say. So the question is, why were they sleeping during the SY regime and not taxing to them and not placing obligation on us to be able to pay that money? But as far as our government is concerned, since we took over, we have complied with the position of the pension.
Okay.
I will challenge anybody.
Mr. Basir, I would have to come in here, Mr. Basir. Thank you, Mr. Basir. I have to come in here to ask Mr. Lano, we're closing. So in closing, your closing statements, please.
Thank you very much. The point is that this government did not inherit any deficit from the past administration. We enrolled into the contributory pension scheme in May. This government came on board in November. And because we foresaw that there will be a transition, we insisted that our institutions should not even remit our deduction of 6 months in the preceding period to this administration to the coffers of the Bureau of Pensions. So we waited until this present administration came on board before the deduction. So this administration is responsible. And again, please, even if all the deductions that have been withheld are paid today, it doesn't solve the problem of the pension scheme, because these are money that ought to have been generating interest in the retirement savings account.
Okay.
So our demand is that the pension scheme is already an albatross. It is already besetted with unresolved problems, and it must stop. And again, there are deductions from salaries with respect to repayment of bank loans, trade union checkoffs, and these are yielding penal interest.
Mr. Basir,
it seems it's not fair to...
Mr. Basir, in closing, please.
30 seconds.
In closing, what can the Osun State government do?
As far as the Osun State government is concerned, we are concerned and we are not happy that we are defaulting in our salary obligation. We sympathize with our people, and we are working hard, and we are committed to fulfill our obligations to our workers.
All right,
so
thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Basir. We've been speaking with Mr. Olusegun Lano, the State Secretary, Council of Academic Unions of Osun State-owned tertiary institutions. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
And also joining us from Oshogbo is Mr. Ajibola Basir, former Commissioner for Special Duties. Thank you. Well, that's been Sunrise for today. I want to thank you for letting us be a part of your morning. I'm Neo Taigbe.
And I am Yomi Otaigbe. Thank you so much for being with us. Do stay with us on Channels Television.